How can our listeners pray for you in the days to come?
Well, pray that God will keep me in line with His will, and that He'll give me the strength and the health that I need to complete my assignment. That's really what I need.
I remember you speaking at Kemper Arena in 1977. You were age 62. And I remember sitting back as a young person thinking, I think that he's probably kind of winding down and coming toward the end of his ministry. Here we go, years later, as you are continuing to seek the Lord and to touch the nations. Could it be that we've got, as we were talking about earlier, a generation of young people in which there might be another Derek Prince? Do you ever see that kind of...
I don't envisage another Derek Prince. I mean, I don't say it out of pride, I just don't feel that it's in God's... But I do think there's another generation that's going to make an impact around the world. And I think it's very close at hand.
Now, how old were you when you met the Lord?
I was 25.
When you were in that army barrack room and the Lord revealed Himself to you, did you have any sense of where ministry or life or Christianity would take you?
No. But I was completely free. I mean, I wasn't attached to anything. So God, in a way, never really had to detach me. Well, He did have to detach me from my Cambridge career. But that wasn't very difficult, because by the time I'd spent 5 years walking with the Lord, philosophy meant nothing to me. It had no traction for me. I'd have gone crazy if I'd started back to teach philosophy.
Is it true that you taught at Cambridge at the same time as C.S. Lewis?
Well, we were at Cambridge at the same time. And in fact, he was at the next college. I was in King's, he was in Queen's. Do you know, I never even heard of him all the time I was there. My world was so totally different from his.
Now, you were something of a radical young person, in a sense, a seeker of truth. And I even heard you say something recently about going down to south of France and some kind of a gambling scenario. And do you care to tell our listeners about your youth?
I'm not very proud of it, but in my last year or two at Eton, I had 2 or 3 friends, and we concluded that we'd stumbled on a system of roulette which you could make a fortune. So we put together a little money, and I was chosen to be the one, mainly, to go and play roulette. So I would go down to the south of France, to Cannes or Monte Carlo, and play the system. By the grace of God, we really never lost any money. I discovered later that the man who invented the system, whose name was Labouchere, died a pauper, so that should have warned me. But anyhow, I know what you're leading up to. So I mean, I enjoy heat. Cold I don't enjoy, but heat and sunshine and sparkling water and sand. So I was always very happy in Cannes and Monte Carlo. And I would spend some months there. And I would wander around suitably attired, wearing sandals. And one of the things that I've always wondered, I mean, I've never been able to explain it, is I decided to colour my toenails red, with red nail polish. But analysing it, I thought to myself, it was a kind of wordless protest. There must be more to life than people are telling me about. And so when I see young people now doing strange things, like a blonde girl coloring her hair blue, I say, I think I understand you. What you're telling us is you're not satisfied. There must be more. Why don't you tell me about it? So I'm not one who criticizes or throws stones at young people who do strange, bizarre things, because I did them myself. Actually, there were no hippies in the day when I was in that phase. Otherwise, I would certainly have been a hippie. But there just was no hippiedom to express it.
It's always been a delight to me to see how much you enjoy being around young people, and you're something of an adventurous person. I seem to recall being with you in a conference in 1977 in Kansas City, and you went over to the amusement park nearby, Worlds of Fun. I believe you went on the roller coaster, if I recall.
I think I did, but I wouldn't do it again. I really didn't enjoy it.
You made a statement once that I never forgot. You were speaking about Moses and Elijah and Paul, and you were seeking to put into biblical framework the whole discussion of discipleship and teaching and translocal authority. You made this statement: God disciples the pioneer.
Yeah, well, let me put it this way. I believe discipleship is a principle of God. It should be implemented, and I am glad to see it when it is. But there are some people who are pioneers who can't be discipled because there's nobody who's done it before. And two of the obvious people, I think, are Elijah and John the Baptist. And obviously, there's a close relationship between their ministries. There was nobody to disciple Elijah. There was nobody to disciple John the Baptist. So the Lord did it himself. And the Lord is free to do that any time he wants. But it's the exception and not the rule. I think in a way I'd have to say the Lord has discipled me. I mean, I would have been very willing to go to some Bible college or something like that, but it never even occurred to me that that was what God wanted me to do. And I'm not saying there's no place for Bible colleges, although I do think basically that's not really the scriptural pattern for training people for the ministry. I think discipling is the basic pattern, but unfortunately there are not so many people who are willing to disciple. It's one thing to stand in a classroom and give a lecture and write things on the blackboard. It's another thing to share your life with somebody, in the thick and in the thin. Share your disappointments and your failures. That's discipling. And we need 100 times more of it than we have in the contemporary church.
But in watching your life, it has been amazing how God has directly intervened to teach you things and train you things, and how great events in your life have turned on the simplest of experiences. Do you remember in 1979 being at the Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri and hearing a young man give a prophecy about witchcraft?
Vaguely, I don't remember it clearly.
At this family conference, the young man stood up at the back and gave this prophetic utterance that the spirit of witchcraft had held millions of men in domination and captivity, and the Spirit of God was going to breathe upon men across America and across the world and set them free from the dominance of Jezebel and witchcraft to become the men of God that they were destined to be.
I do recall it now. I'd forgotten it. And I would say it was most certainly a word from God.
That kind of prophecy has been something that you've heard and acted upon in the years that I've followed you in your own personal life where God has spoken to you.
Yes, I do, definitely. I mean, after all, if God is going to speak by prophecy, how foolish we would be if we don't listen to what he says and obey. But I'm very cautious about personal prophecy. Of course, that prophecy, in a way, was not a personal prophecy. And it certainly is being fulfilled and will be fulfilled much more, I would say. But when it comes to personal prophecies, I am very cautious. I don't want anybody to dictate to me their ideas of what they think I should do. But I have had times at prophecies which I really felt were from the Lord and encouraged me and opened up a new way for me.
Do you believe that the Lord Jesus will return soon to the earth?
Depends how you interpret soon. I mean, next week I think is a little too early. Next year could be too early. But events are moving so fast and we're caught up in such a whirlwind of activity that I wouldn't like to say. People have asked me at times, do you think you'll be alive when Jesus comes? My answer is I don't expect to be, but I certainly could be. There are a lot of things that have to be done. They can be done very quickly, and we wouldn't know necessarily whether they've been done or not. So we can't say until I see this, this and this, he won't come. I personally feel that there's going to be one more great move of God across the earth. And one of the things it will do is prepare the bride for the bridegroom. Because the message is his wife has made herself ready. And years and years ago I pastored a small congregation in London, England. We had a dear Jamaican sister there, and when she prayed, she always prayed the same thing. Lord, help us to remember that it won't be enough to be getting ready. We'll have to be ready when you come. And I think there's a great deal to be done still to make the bride